Back in March, I picked up a copy of the Daniels running formula and planned out all my runs for the remainder of 2022. Over 170 scheduled runs in 270 days. Now I've completed 4 months of that training and I haven't missed a single run. What's the program been like? Have I been making any progress? And will I ever beat my dad's 5K PR? Well, let's get into it. Dr. Jack Daniels is a 2-time Olympic medalist in the modern pentathlon and a world-renowned exercise scientist. Named world's best running coach by Runner's World, he coached 7 athletes to the US Olympic team and has advised dozens of Olympians and medalists. He went on to write the Daniels Running Formula, a book outlining his unique training philosophies. I picked up the 4th edition of this book back in March and planned out a year's worth of runs. What I've struggled with in the past is determining proper run intensity and volume. Am I running too many or too few miles? Am I resting too much or too little? Are those miles that I am running too hard or too easy? Without ever having a coach or being on a track team, I struggled to answer these questions. The Daniels running formula did just that. It detailed what days to run, how many miles to run, and at what exact paces to run at. No more guesswork, just a plan that I had to execute. And if you're interested in learning more about this program, I put out a video back in April that was titled I'm using VDOT to plan a year of running that goes into a lot more detail on it. Now there are numerous plans in his book for general running improvement or distance specific race improvement. Knowing my injury history, I decided to go the conservative route and picked the Red Intermediate General Running Improvement Plan. It was harder than I had expected. So the Red plan has 4 phases. Each of those phases is 1 month. So in phase 1, there are 4 scheduled run days with 3 optional run days. So I always ran the 4 scheduled run days, and then I ran one of the optional run days and used the 2 other days for low impact rowing cross training, which I've also done a video about. And unrelated to the program, but just to give you a full idea of my fitness program, I also do a pull push legs strength split twice a week. And then I walk on my treadmill desk about 15,000 steps on each workday. It turned out that running along with this amount of treadmill desk walking was a little too much for me starting out. I started to feel shin splints. So I cut back on the treadmill desk walking and I even eliminated it for a few different weeks and the pain dissipated. I've slowly incorporated the walking back and now I'm up to about 7,000 steps on the treadmill desk for each workday and no issues since. But the running plan itself was great. Sure, initially there were some difficulties measuring out, say, the 1K segments of my threshold intervals, or remembering the exact running plan in the middle of a run when I was exhausted, or finding the proper running trails that weren't constantly interrupted by stoplights and traffic. But all of this got ironed out after a few weeks. I measured the distances with my Apple Watch. I had all the runs memorized. I learned how to mark segments on my Apple Watch to track various pace changes, and I had a route that was uninterrupted by traffic and stoplights. The more I ran it, the easier it became. In months 1 and 2, or phases 1 and 2 of the program, there were really no issues for me. The easy paces were easy, not hard to follow. The threshold paces were difficult but attainable, and the strides were strides, nothing special. But in phases 3 and 4, hard interval paces were introduced, and I found it hard to hit and maintain these paces. In phase 3, I had a workout that consisted of 5 3-minute intervals, and I never hit the recommended pace. I was exhausted. But each week thereafter, I became closer to the recommended pace, and I would start to hit it a few times. Now, by the end of the month, I still couldn't hit that recommended interval pace for every interval, but I was seeing improvement. But overall, progressing from phase 1 all the way through phase 4 of the Red Intermediate plan, everything went well. My miles stayed between 25 and 30 miles per week. The runs became slightly harder as the phases went on, and the rest times went down a little bit. So everything went well except for race day. What really motivates me is dropping my 5K time. That's why I picked up the book. I want to get faster without getting injured. I want to set 5K PRs while still being healthy. Although I stupidly didn't do a 5K before I started the program to benchmark my progress, I would guess I was at maybe about a 20-minute 5K. But all of my guesses pre-races so far have been off by over 30 seconds, so trust that as much as you want, because I suck at predicting my time. I did my first initial run 6 weeks into the program and ran a 19:23 5K. It wasn't as good as I had hoped it would be, but it wasn't bad. I was satisfied with it. 13 weeks into the program, I ran a 19:57. How could I get worse with more training? I don't know, it was abysmal. And 17 weeks into the program, after completing all 4 phases, I ran an unofficial, probably about a 19:30 5K. 4 months of training and absolutely no progress. It was a little bit baffling and a little bit disappointing. So the program doesn't work, right? Well, I wouldn't say that. There's a small sample size of races that I did, and there are many different variables. The first race that I did was a completely flat course. The weather also got worse. My second 5K was 20 degrees hotter and in sun the entire time. It wore me down quickly. The first 2 races, I tapered my weekly miles by about 35% for optimal recovery before the race, and the last 5K, I didn't taper my miles at all. And my nutrition, sleep, and stress levels were probably different. There were a number of different variables that confounded the results. Certainly with this amount of training, it seems like my 5K time would go down despite these factors, but let me tell you why I'm okay with the times for now. There are secondary progress markers that are definitely improving. I've lost about 5 pounds over the past 4 months, and my body fat percentage has decreased 2%. My body composition is improving. My resting heart rate has also dropped about 4 beats per minute, and my heart rate variability has been steadily increasing, so my cardiovascular health is improving too. I'm now lifting more weight and notching up my breath training, so I'm fitter. And I'm now able to run harder and longer runs than I could have 4 months ago. Starting in August, I'll be taking on the Blue Advanced Running Plan from the Daniels running formula. My weekly mileage will be jumping to between 40 and 52 miles per week. That's not something I could have accomplished back in March before I started the program. So while my race times aren't improving, certainly the biomarkers are. A breakthrough must be near and I can't flinch now. I have to keep progressing and I have to keep running. So here are my final thoughts. 4 months into running the Daniels running formula red intermediate plan, and it hasn't improved my race time at all. At least not yet. But the program has kept me healthy and I'm reaching new levels of training. I think maintaining this sort of consistency while maybe adding in a few sprints and plyometrics for speed and power work will pay off big in a matter of time. I'm really looking forward to a race in October, and I'm sure I'll be getting closer to my dad's 5K PR of 17:45 by then. Dad might be getting a little worried. Or he's probably thinking I'm going to run a 19:30 again. At this pace, I might be getting worse. Who knows? These are my latest habits for health excellence. Thanks for stopping by, and if you're interested in more habits for health excellence, feel free to check out my weekly newsletter where I include those along with the most important things that I've read, watched, and listened to within the past week. If you're interested in that, there's a link down in the description. Thanks again for watching, and I look forward to seeing you guys next week.